Hey guys, it's Yaya Diamond. What's up? Thank you so much for joining me today. I have an amazing interview. It is an author. You guys know how much I love authors. Let me tell you something. It is important that we put our phones down, that we literally just put our phones down. Do you know how much screen time we're getting? Children, adults alike are becoming nearsighted because we have our phones up in our faces and we have this thing where we're looking at our phones all day. Listen, get outside, get a good book. Read a book. Sit down like we used to in the nook at the window and with a coffee or hot cocoa and read a really good book. Go to the beach, sit on the rocks, let the waves cascade on the rocks as you read a book. These are things that I used to do when I was young and that I still do today, and I absolutely love it. You have to read a book. Get out of the phone, get off of the computer, and get outside. Get somewhere where it's going to, enhance the mind and create new neurons. And that's exactly what we're doing today with my guest. Mr. Jim Wilkerson is here to talk about two books. That's right, two books. Welcome so much, sir, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's nice to see you, Yaya. And let me add one more thing on to what you said about reading. Some
That,
bright guy said, when you don't read a book, you live one life, but if you read books, you live 1,000 lives.
ooh, I like
So I
that.
just want to add that on there.
Oh yes, I like that. And it's true because your imagination and everything, fantasy just takes a hold of you and you become this new character engulfed in a new world. And that's exactly what books do for me. Well, when was it that you knew you had to or you wanted to write a book?
Well, the first one I wrote was because I had a daughter who was 2 years older. And so I taught her to read and
Oh,
when she was 2 or 3 years old. And then later on in life, became a great grandfather. And so I thought, well, I'll teach those kids to read too. So
oh,
I wrote the Wilkie Reader for them with poetry to learn how to do the alphabet in a fun way. And so
wow.
that was my first book.
Wow. And you have this one here, the Wilkie Reader. That's what we're talking about, right? That's your
Yeah,
first book. You know,
yeah, that's the alphabet in poetry.
Oh my gosh, that's got to be amazing for, other children's and other parents, how would I say, to teach their children and to be a part of that learning experience. There's a lot of parents going ahead and going to homeschooling now. Do you recommend this book for homeschooling as well?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, not just for kids, for anybody that wants to learn English, maybe for a second language, they can learn from the Wilkie Reader.
That is so good. I absolutely like that. I think that that's a great idea. So you wrote this book and to teach your children how to, the alphabet and everything, your grandchildren, right? Then the great
Uh,
grand came along, and then it's still viable. That is amazing. What was one of the top things that you had to actually, get into that book that was like, okay, if this is not there, it's not going to work.
uh, I've always been pretty good at poetry, and so I can't remember how exactly what kicked it in but my brain comes alive at night. Both of these books are written overnight, because that's when my brain clicks in, and so that's when I started writing it. And it took about a week to finish it.
Oh my gosh. So it only took you a week to finish this book, like A through Z, a week.
Yep.
Wow. When did you start writing poetry, though? I mean, when did this kind of kick in for you?
Oh boy, I've been writing poetry since I was a little kid, really,
Wow.
and still, the other book is the really solid poetry book because that's a double verse on every line.
Oh my gosh. And that's going to be Joey and the Treep, right?
Joey and the Three.
And the
Yep.
Three. Okay, so tell me, where did you get a hold of this title, Joey and the Three? Where did you
Well,
come from?
that has a more interesting story because remember in the NBA, I was in San Diego at the time, and the Los Angeles Lakers were going for three in a row, and they were talking about a three-peat in the
Oh.
language. And I was a TV news guy in San Diego, and one of my assignments was to interview the guy that had the best children's book of the nation.
Mm.
And so he gave me a copy of the book, and the pictures were marvelous. but I thought, you know what, I can do a better job than that. So I was on a bus to Los Angeles at the time. They were talking about the three-peat for the Los Angeles Lakers, and so I that's when the three came to mind. A character
Oh.
with in double rhyme, in a cave lonely, not making a peep, was the world's only three-legged threep.
Oh,
And we're not jesting, three eyes and ears too. That's also testing those nukes can do. And so it went.
that is so cool. Let me ask you a question. You said you were a broadcaster, you were in the news, you were doing different things when you were younger and as you got older. Did this help you at all?
Well, sure, yeah. I worked. I was helped get CNN up and running back when they were doing news back in the early days. I started at CNN the same couple of weeks before President Reagan started as president. So so I got a lot of tracks under the bridge.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So let me ask you, okay, getting away from the book for a second, I have to ask you this question. And I know maybe a lot of my viewers are asking this question as well. What do you think about the common day podcasting and internet and the broadcasters and people like me who didn't go to school for this, but really just want to reach out and maybe get that mentorship that we don't get nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like we used to sit on the porch with grandma, grandpa rocking on the rocking chair kind of thing. And they would give you advice like what you're doing with your grandchildren and your great grands with the book. We don't get that nowadays. Do you think that this is really helping or is it hindering us?
Well, it sure helps to get information when you need it. But boy, I'll tell you, some of the stuff going on there, these kids are so they believe anything, and that's really a mistake in my view. I'm really pretty stupid as far as the internet goes, and I trouble have getting around even on Facebook. But but
Yeah.
it's there, and I the accessibility is wonderful.
Mhm.
But I'm not good at it, and I don't like the way it's taken over the control of some of the kids. That's all they do is they're on the phone. They're not running around. They're not doing fun things, talking to people one to one. They're always texting.
Yeah. Yeah. And
In
that's why
fact,
go
yeah,
ahead.
I was surprised to learn just recently, and this is kind of stupid, shows what my age is. I didn't realize the kids today can't read longhand. They're
No,
not they're not taught longhand in school anymore.
neither are they taught cursive.
Yeah, they're
I
not
mean,
taught that.
no, and I remember typing. I had to learn how to type on a typewriter. I had to actually learn a different language. We had to have two languages in order to graduate. You had to take English in a foreign language. And then we had to do shorthand, not longhand, but shorthand. And
I remember.
we had cursive. So those are the courses that you had to take. Everything else like PE and vocals and chorus and choir and whatever else you took. Those were electives, but we did, and of course, math. You know what I mean? But it was like math. You learned how to balance your checkbook in math class too. So they don't do these things anymore.
It's pretty sad, really.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what you're doing. So let me ask you a question. You have your two books, and I'm gonna go ahead and put up your books right now. You have your books, the Ricky Reader, right? You also have Joey and the Threep, right? And are
Right.
you looking forward? Are you doing any more books to educate children, to teach them that the phone is just and the internet is just really not the way to go when it comes to learning?
Well, boy, I'll tell you, my grandkids and some of my daughters, they're teachers, so I
Mm.
hope they're in control, and
Mhm.
I'll let them handle it. So they're so far away, I can't do much except communicate with them like online, which is I'm not really good at, but that's how I communicate with the kids these days.
Wow.
Otherwise, they don't call you on the phone; they just text.
I know. My grandson, right? So I'm talking to him. He's like, "Oh, grandma, can you go ahead and just put my email in your text and it'll text me?" And I'm like, so he
You
said,
got a grandson?
I do. I have three grandchildren.
Good grief, you look like you just got out of high school.
So my son is 33 and he'll be 33 November 19th. And my daughter, she's 22. So he's 32 and 22.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And my son has three children, so and a wife, of course. So now I have another daughter and I got three grandchildren. It's wonderful.
Well, yeah, take them, make sure they get the Wilkie Reader.
Well, she actually does homeschool all three of them, and that's what I love because I homeschooled my children, and so she's now homeschooling them, and that's what makes me so happy. They are rock climbing and camping. They're not home as much, and they're reading. They love books. So these books here that you have, this is going to be an amazing addition to their library that they have, Joey and the Three, and the Wilkie Reader. I'm absolutely loving what you've done.
Well, I think they'll enjoy the Wilkie Reader and the Threep. That's an interesting story, I think.
Awesome. Well, I want to
And if
thank
they like poetry, they'll really like it.
Oh, we love poetry. I love poetry. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything you would like to tell people about your books besides that they are on Amazon, but anything else you would like to say before we finish today?
No, I think the Mike Petro at the Authors Tranquility Press is doing a good job of getting the word out.
Definitely.
Got you a hold of me, so they're
Hey,
doing a good job of spreading it around. And I think when people feel when they get a copy of it, they'll like to share it with their friends
definitely,
or tell them where to get it.
That's right. That's right. And get a book, guys. Get off the phone, get off the computers. Don't believe everything you hear, as Jim says. Jim said it. He said it. Believe it. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. It's some of it's just fiction and it's just not real. We want
Or
to
at least check it out.
Yeah, right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And until next time, when Jim makes a new book, because he's now got it, he's like now he's an educator. I'm sorry, you went from broadcasting to education. You need to get more books here, okay?
Well, I am tutoring for a local
Ooh,
school.
okay, okay. All right then, Jim. Excuse me. All right. All right, guys. Don't forget to dare to be different. Until next time. Bye.